Hello, everyone, and welcome to ROKStudios. I'm Stan Miller. I'm PR and Analyst Relations Manager for Rockwell Automation in the EMEA region, and I'm joined today by Gustavo Zecharies. He is our EMEA President. Gustavo, welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much, Stan, for the invitation. Glad to be here. Looking forward to our conversation.
Gustavo, today we're talking about a really interesting topic. We're talking about innovation at scale and how technology and collaboration are shaping Europe's industrial future. Very relevant to the region. And of course, as our chief executive in the region, I can't wait to get your insight into this topic. So, to start, from your perspective, what are the most significant shifts shaping industrial competitiveness in Europe today? And how do these shifts differ from previous cycles of industrial transformation?
Yeah, interesting question. This time, maybe the effect of how communicated humanity is, or maybe the fact that certain situations they have global scale, like the global pandemic or the global shortage of chips or any other big microeconomic or any other kind of event have we have seen the trend that all people in different industries, all countries, trying to be synchronized in their needs. This is new. Probably over the last many industrial revolutions that we have seen in the past, it took a lot of time for everybody to be synchronized to understand that automation or electricity was important. In this time, just in 2 or 3 years, we are all getting kind of together to understand that cybersecurity, need for data, certain analytics, tools to design our products are all relevant. They're all important all at the same time. So that's what makes it different this time. The speed of change, the adoption of these technologies in a worldwide scale, just within months, like artificial intelligence. We were not talking about artificial intelligence 5 years, 4 years, 3 years ago. It was like a dream, and today we see it part of many aspects of our lives. So that's what make it particularly interesting, challenging, and a big opportunity for all of us today.
That sets me up perfectly for my next question. I mean, we're talking about technology and you touched on artificial intelligence. So, to your point, I mean, artificial intelligence is increasingly moving from concept to implementation in industrial environments. At the leadership level, how should executives think about AI's role in driving productivity, resilience, decision making across operations?
Yeah, I that a very broad question because like any new technology, you see prototypes that go up and fail, and some don't. Sometimes see the light of the day and production. But I will say, if you're starting to think about, there are like two schools of thought about artificial intelligence. One that one day artificial intelligence is going to take over from us, and people that understand that perhaps we don't have the energy available in this world for this thing to take over from us kind of understand that this is an opportunity for us to join forces with this technology. So today, in the case of our company particularly, we are seeing the idea of that intelligence is going to assist us into becoming like a new class of being, a new kind of species, if I can say it this way, being able to be superpowered by the abilities of these capabilities. So if you look at the tools that we are developing as a company today, you will see that that's the trend that we are following. Assisting our human capabilities to get to the next stage of our abilities on productivity, on speed, on agility by using these tools. So if you talk about people that they are leading in this industry, I will say don't be scared. Try the new things. Be open to new ideas, and try it and test it and see the results. Measure the results and bring that part in your design of your new organization.
Makes perfect sense. Gustavo, European manufacturing has long benefited from strong engineering traditions, right? How can organizations combine that heritage with digital innovation to remain competitive in this rapidly evolving landscape that we're talking about?
Well, our technology clearly has an effect, has is in the border with the physical world, right? There's a lot of things that they are true, they are virtual. When we do software programming or a digital twin, clearly we are talking about things that they are not in the physical world, but at the end the application is in the physical world. And I am, I feel incredibly privileged to be particularly in a region where we push the physical world to extremes. We are in a place where, particularly, I would say, mechanical engineering has been pushed to be world class, right? So we are just joining a trend of something that exists and has been there for hundreds of years, right? The excellence in the ability to solve an application by using the physical, I mean the mechanical part of the business, how we ourselves integrating that trend is something that excites us a lot, right? And it's an excellent opportunity for us to be in collaboration with partners that actually make using our tools and using the devices in the physical world, mixing these two to actually to solve very ingenious and difficult problems that we have in the industry and in the world.
Gustavo, that answer sets me up perfectly for my next question. You mentioned collaboration, in part. You mentioned partners. Well, let's talk a little bit about collaboration. Collaboration is often mentioned as a critical success factor when it comes to driving outcomes. What does effective collaboration look like in practice when the goal is long-term industrial competitiveness?
That's a very interesting question, and also part of the evolution that we are seeing as humans. We were talking earlier about the pandemic and the effects that had, right? And back in those days, everybody concentrating in a particular location was kind of important, right? You had to have your team and work with your team in person and share the same water cooler with the engineer that was doing a particular part of the implementation. Today, and perhaps because of or thanks to the pandemic, we kind of learned to be able to collaborate virtually. And the idea of being virtually connected allows you to add diversity in the group of people that actually you bring into the table. Perfectly, you can run a project with someone doing the design in Japan, someone doing the implementation in Germany, and someone testing the product in Argentina. And that could be perfectly normal today, where 5, 6 years ago, it would have been a dream. So when we are talking about collaboration, clearly the tools are there, and not only for us to communicate, but actually to work together in the same system at the same time, being in totally different physical locations. So when I think about what kind of examples or what kind of suggestions I may do. Clearly, the world has changed. We are in a different mode of working, and leveraging the fact that we have tools to make our teams way more diverse and implement things at a global scale is something that we will miss the opportunity if we don't adopt these tools, right? So that will say what collaboration means today. Don't think about the locations and cultures. We are beyond that. We are one world, and you are able to reach capabilities way beyond the reach of your eyes, right? Or the limits of the constraints that once constrain you to have a team in a particular place. Those days are gone.
Absolutely. So, Gustavo, last question for you. Looking ahead, what mindset shifts do you think senior leaders need to embrace to successfully guide their organizations through increasing automation, that data driven operations that you were talking about, and maybe even workforce transformation?
Sure. Many things are converging at the same time. The themes that we hear, these don't come from me or our company. It really comes from our customers coming to ask what will be, how I can implement this and how I can go there. The things that we'll see, for example, one of them is modularity. Being able to, every time that we see a system, create subsystems that they are a thing on their own. And it's the combination of these different systems that make a larger system at the end. So essentially, we're talking about being to do scalable designs that allow us to put the pieces together and create something totally new. That's one of the things that we see there. Have each one of these modules be data ready, being able to self-diagnose what's going on inside that module, and essentially tell I have issues with the temperature or the pressure, and do a self-diagnose and provide to whomever is a monitoring system a way to solve that situation. Maybe that the person is going to fix this problem may not even be in the same physical location, maybe thousands of kilometers or miles away. So being able to remotely connect to that device and being able to provide a diagnose and give that special touch that humans give to that equipment, that's another one of the topics. Using that data that we were talking earlier to be able to look at different layers of when you do that data analysis and try to understand what repeats, what patterns are happening for you to actually to be more proactive and preventive about maintenance, or to see the correlation between two events and see what you can come as a conclusion out of there. All of those are things that we are seeing coming from the industry today that I'm pretty sure when all these topics are brought into the design, the investments, the talent that we are bringing to the organizations, that's what is going to shape the future for us. So hopefully that was, I articulated well the answer to the question.
Modularity, scalability, flexibility, and a data-driven
Right
mindset.
on.
Fabulous. Gustavo, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for watching. If you'd like to learn more about industrial automation and digital transformation, visit rockwellautomation.com.